पॉइंट कटिंग टूल है ना, स्वॉर्ड मल्टी पॉइंट कटिंग टूल है, कितने एडजेस रहते हैं उसको स्वॉर्ड में? एक ही रहता ना, नॉर्मल एक ही रहता, बहुत कम यूज करते जो दो साइड में शार्प रहने वाला, तो मोस्टली इट इज सिंगल पॉइंट कटिंग टूल ओनली, राइट? So sword, knife, whatever we are using, everything is single point cutting tool. So in multi point cutting tool, this kind of cutting edges is having multiple, more than one cutting edges will be there. So example, we told whatever the drill bits you used in your carpentry. So right in that, if you see the drill bit, you don't have single edge. You have multiple 3 edge. Some drill bits having 4 edges, 4 cutting edges. So multiple cutting edges are there. Even in your kitchen also, you have a multi point cutting tool. So what is that multi point cutting tool in your kitchen? मल्टी पॉइंट कटिंग टूल किचन में यूज करते हैं
मिक्सी जार्स,
जार्स आर यू नथिंग बट योर मिक्सी, इन मिक्सी के अंदर जार्स के अंदर जो रहता कटिंग,
yes sir,
यू डोंट हैव, इट्स लाइक नाइफ, यू हैविंग ए मल्टीपल कटिंग एजेस आर देयर, अगर एक साइड 2 रहते, एक साइड 3 रहते, एक साइड 4 भी रहते, राइट? तो डिफरेंट मल्टीपल, उसमें एक एज नहीं है, मल्टी कटिंग एजेस, सो दैट काइंड ऑफ टूल वी कैन कॉल इट एज ए मल्टी पॉइंट कटिंग टूल. So in single point cutting tool or multi point cutting tool, the cutting mechanism or principle of cutting is same. So in single point cutting tool, only one cutting edge is removing the material. In multi point cutting tool, this kind of removing of material is happening throughout the throughout its body. Maybe it's 3 points or 4 points, but action, whatever the things is happening, cutting action is the same. Even on mixie mein, whatever the mixie you having the blades, if you see, तो क्या करता वो, when mixie is rotating, what happened, whatever the cutting edge, sharp cutting edge जो है, वो cutting edge, whatever the things you are putting in the mixie, it is cut. Similarly, पीछे जो cutting edge आता वो भी क्या करता, वो भी उसको काटता, फिर उसके बाद में आने वाला cutting edge क्या करता, उसको भी काटता. So everything, the action are nothing but mechanism or principle of cutting. Even single point cutting tool, multi point cutting tool, same thing. So whatever the single point cutting tool is doing, same thing is doing by multi point cutting tool also. Only different, single point cutting tool, you need to have only one cutting edge, one action is happening. In multi point cutting tool, you having a 3 cutting edges, 4 cutting edges. If you take milling cutter, you having a more number of maybe 10, 15, 36 cutting edges also may be there. So in one rotation of the cutting tool, how much? 36 edges are cutting the material. So cutting is faster in multi point cutting tool. But scenario, mechanism, principle, physics, everything is same in multi point or single point cutting tool. So also we've seen last class about the geometry of single point cutting tool, right? So geometry of single point cutting tool, we have seen in that we seen different kind of angles we have seen, like rake angle, clearance angle, cutting edge angle. So these 3 angles we have seen. So in these 3 again there is a 2 different types is there. One is side rake angle and back rake angle. Similarly, cutting edge angle, side cutting edge angle, back cutting edge angle. Similarly for rake, similarly your relief angle, side relief angle, end relief angle, right? Like this, you seeing 3 angles in 2 means total 6 angles we have seen in single point geometry of single point cutting tool, right? Are you remember this? In addition to this, we have seen one more parameter, that is nose radius, right? When 2 cutting edges are there, one is side cutting edge and one end cutting edge. So these cutting edges are meeting one particular point. So whenever meeting a particular point, it is to form a sharp edge. So normally sharp edge has to have some kind of stress concentration, right? So to avoid stress concentration, so we need to cut that sharp edges, so that we are giving some kind of round, we are making some kind of round, we are giving some kind of filleting. So that round having some kind of radius. So that is called as a nose radius. And that particular point, wherever these 2 edges are meeting, is called as a nose. So nose radius, so popularly we used to call it as a nose radius. So we also seen about signature, tool signature also we have seen. So in tool signature, we have seen about different points, different angles we need to see, right? So total 7 parameters we have seen in tool signature. Maybe if I go back, this is the tool signature we have seen. So in that, all these 6 angles, back rake angle, side rake angle, right? Then relief angle, end relief angle, side relief angle, and then edge cutting, cutting edge angle, side cutting edge angle, as well as end cutting edge angle, 6 angles plus 1 dimension, 1 parameter, that is nose radius. So these 7 parameters, if you keep in this sequence, this used to called as the tool signature. So these things we have seen in the last class, right? Then also you've seen about the just geometry of cutting tool, how the cutting tool is interacting or maybe cutting the material, how to removing the material in the form of chips. That's also we have seen last class, right? So this is continuous chips as well as the different kinds of chips are there that we are going to see in today's class, right? So this you have seen the theory of metal cutting. So how this cutting edge, how it is interacting with the base workpiece material or nothing but blank material, right? It's applying some kind of shear forces. So because of shear forces, material deforming at shear plane. So wherever the plane is there, maybe here if you say this is a pointing here, this is, so this is a particular, this whatever the portion is there, so wherever the material is deforming and forming the workpiece material, here it is deforming at this particular point and getting coming out from the material in the form of a chip. So this portion we used to call as the shear plane or nothing but shear portion. So why we call it as a shear portion? Because at this particular point material is shearing, nothing but changing its deforming is happening at that particular point. That's why we used to call as shear plane. So this particular portion, whichever is there, it's called as a shear plane. So actually exact deformation of material is happening at this particular point or at this particular surface, you can say. Because if you see, this is a line is there, so one line we can see maybe some inclined line, as well as there is a line is there perpendicular to the screen. So totally you used to have a surface. So this surface or nothing but this plane used to call as the shear plane. So here in this plane, shear of the material is happening. The same thing we've seen in the last slide, last slide. This is chip formation, right? How chips are going to form, that we have seen last class, last slide of my lecture. Right? With this, I think I stopped last class. Now we can continue here. So how chips are formed, you've seen in last class. So anybody have any doubts or any confusion in last class about geometry of cutting tool, about the chip formation, anything? Fine. So I feel that there is no question. Yes, any question? 329. If no question, we'll move forward for today's class. So this is a typical chip formation, whatever we're seeing. So I am again repeating today also. So cutting action involves the shear deformation of the work material to form a chip, right? Form a chip. As chip is removed and new surface is exposed. So here if you see, so this is whatever you're seeing, this portion. So whatever this portion is there, so this is nothing but chip. And this portion is nothing but the material which is removed. And whichever this is there, after removing the surface material, so this material is exposing to the tool or maybe exposing to the atmosphere. So this is a new surface. So this surface is called as a machined surface, because once machining is done, so normally what we are assuming that this surface is very smooth. So whatever the rough surface is there above, that rough surface we removed, almost this much thickness of material is removed. Just please remember this, whatever we are seeing is a magnified image. It's not exactly same image. Actually, this depth of cut or nothing but whatever the thickness of the material is there, it is in microns, maybe somewhere about 100 microns or maybe 50 microns or maximum 200 microns. So 200 microns means somewhere about 0.2 mm. So very small amount of material only we are removing from the surface. We are not removing a lump of material. We are not removing 10 mm material at a time. So even for removing the 10 mm material, even for removing a 2 mm material, we need to move the cutting tool in that many number of times. Then only they're going to remove that much thickness of material. For example, if you're giving 0.1 mm of layer of material, we're removing every rotation, every movement. So then what we need to do? So if you want to remove 1 mm material, means that many number of times you need to repeat the operation. So, right, 0.1 mm first time, 0.1 mm second time. Like that, you need to go on removing the layer by layer of 100 micron, which is nothing but 0.1 mm thickness of the material 10 times. Then only you're going to remove the material 1 mm thick material. So mechanics of metal cutting is greatly depending upon the shape and size of the chip formed. So there is a different kinds of chips are there. So depending upon the chip formation, we can decide our metal cutting as well as the material removal is depends. So normally this what are the types of chips are depending upon again the type of material, which type of material you are machining. So based upon that, your material removal will depends, as well as your type of chip will depend. So coming to the next slide. So today's first slide. So this is there are the total 3 basic types of chips are involving in machining process. So these 3 chips are, one used to called as a discontinuous chips, one is calling as a continuous chips, and third one continuous chips with the build-up edges. So continuous and continuous chips with the build-up edges are similar only, but in continuous chips with build-up edges, it used to have some special build-up edges are there. So now we're going to see what is discontinuous chip. So is everybody is understanding what I am telling to you? Somebody can respond.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So if somewhere if you not understand something, something is confusing to you because you studied something and I'm telling something else now. So in that case also please stop me. You can ask me anytime. If you not want to ask in between the class, maybe at the end of the class, maybe if you want you can ask, right? So I'm telling you from today onwards, I used to call students by their number or by their name and asking you the question. So student has to respond. Whether your answer is correct or wrong, that is different. First, I want a student has to respond to my question. He need to give an answer. Whether it's right or not, don't worry about that. If wrong, I will correct you. Right? If you not respond, nobody can correct you. So please attentive in the classes. Presence of mind is required in the class. सुनिए, attention रखिए अपने आप को. So whatever I'm telling you, please try to understand, try to listen it. If you have any confusion, अगर आपको कुछ doubt आ रहा, कुछ confusion हो रहा, so you need to ask me immediately. If you don't want to ask me, ask immediately. Maybe at the end of the class, you can ask me whatever your doubt. Right? Don't carry doubt in your mind. So class, whatever the class you're taking, during this class, my intention as a faculty intention is to clear your doubts, or maybe we can give some kind of knowledge to you. If already some knowledge is there, so in addition to that, some other knowledge, if it is a more knowledge is coming, it's fine. But some contradictory knowledge, तो आप already पढ़े हुए हैं कुछ, उसके against में मैं कुछ opposite में बोल रहा हूँ, so you can ask me. You tell me, sir, we are studying in production technology or we are studying in that particular subject like this, and here you are telling like this, quite opposite. So which is correct? This is correct or that is correct? So I will tell you. I will try to explain it. Right? So coming to the types of chips. So first type of chip is a discontinuous chip. So discontinuous chips, maybe you can see in the image. So this is the tool is there, right? So tool is there. So tool is removing. This what are the red portion is there. So this portion is cutting workpiece material or nothing but blank, and whatever this already written tool. So this whatever the portion you can see, this is the cutting tool. So already last class we have seen when cutting tool is coming into the material, what it will doing? It's applying some kind of shear forces along this shear plane. When applying the shear forces, what happened? So whatever the material is there here, so as this cutting tool is moving forward, our workpiece is moving this direction. So in cutting, anything may possible. So workpiece can move, or tool can move. Anyone can move. Even some cases, both can possible to move. There is always relative motion is existing between the both workpiece as well as the cutting tool. So if the relative motion is not there, it's not possible to remove this material. So cutting material is difficult. So machining is difficult if you don't have the relative motion. So always there is a relative motion is there between the workpiece and cutting tool. So in this, when the cutting tool is moving forward, just assume workpiece is stationary and cutting tool is moving forward. When cutting tool is moving forward, what happened? So at this particular layer of the material is applying some kind of shear force, and this shear force is transferring in this plane, and this material, whatever the material is there here, it is deforming and coming out in this form. Similarly, if the cutting tool is moving further forward, just assume cutting tool maybe come here. So what happened? So whatever the material layer is there, the material layer also coming above. So here material you having a shear form, and this material may be coming out like this. So this is forming a chip on this, and this chip is flowing on your rake surface. It's nothing but whenever the cutting tool in this position, this is your rake surface. When cutting tool is coming here, so this is your rake surface. So like this, as it goes forward, so this chip is coming out. When this chip is coming out, you can see here, this chip is not continue. When this chip is coming at this particular position, there is some kind of breaking is happening. So if you see here chips are not coming continuous single chip. You are getting number of chips are coming. You see first chip. So this is the second chip, and this is the third chip, right? So here chip is coming in very small in size. So here chips are not continuous chips. This because one chip is coming out and it is breaking, and small chips are coming out from the machining process. So this kind of chips used to call as the discontinuous, because it's not a continue. It's not like a ribbon. So whatever you have done in your carpentry, when you're doing that planing, on a flat surface of wood, if you're keeping and you're rubbing that plane, what happened? There is some kind of chips are coming out from the plane, right? So these chips is coming out in the form of a ribbon. We used to call it as a ribbon, right? So ribbon. So that is a continuous chip. But in this material, what happened? The ribbons are coming for some other material. But for this particular material, you see that instead of ribbon, the ribbon is breaking in small pieces. So these small pieces used to called as this also called as a chip. But this kind of chips we used to call as a discontinuous chips. So why these discontinuous chips are happening? So this reason for the discontinuous chips is the following reasons are given here. Basic reason for any discontinuous chips is first and more important reason is the material, nothing but workpiece material or blank material is made of brittle metal. So if metal is brittle, workpiece metal is brittle, you're going to get a discontinuous chip. That is the first reason for any discontinuous chips. Second one, low cutting speed. If your cutting is very slowly, then also forming the possibilities are there. There is a possibility of discontinuous chips are forming. And third one, if you're giving very large feed, so large feed is nothing but in one revolution of the cutting tool or in one motion of the workpiece, you are advancing other thing is very fastly, or maybe high feed, your very large feed you're giving. So large feed is nothing but maybe in your when you're doing cutting lathe, on lathe, when you're doing cutting lathe, what happened? You are moving your cutting tool, whatever the chisel is there, very slowly you are moving. So that lateral movement of the chisel is calling it as the feed. If this is going very slowly, you're giving less. Slowly means at 1 second, how much distance your cutting tool is moving. That is called as a feed. So in 1 second or maybe in 1 minute, your cutting tool is moving very slow. Maybe you're moving something about 10 mm only in 1 minute. In 60 seconds, you're moving only 10 mm of distance, the cutting tool. So in that case, your feed, nothing but lateral movement is calling it as 10 mm divided by 1 minute means 30 seconds. So you see per second you're giving only 0.1 mm feed you're giving. So 0.1 mm feed is considering as a low feed. If you're giving low feed also, you're going to get a continuous chip, right? So these are the reason for if you're giving this feed is very fast, large feed is giving, instead of giving 0.1 mm per second, you are giving almost 1 mm or maybe 10 mm per second you are giving. But 1 second you are moving 10 mm means 1 minute means you almost completed your work within 1 minute. So that you are giving very long feed, long depth of cut, then also possibilities are there. You are going to get this kind of discontinuous chips. And similarly, high tool chip friction. If friction is more, so always you studied in your engineering mechanics as well as in your engineering physics, wherever the two surfaces or two bodies are contacting, there is always some kind of friction, some kind of friction will happen. So here if friction is more, just I'm deleting this one. So if friction is more, so definitely because of high friction, what happened? Your chips, because your chip is stuck up at this particular point, then further going is not possible. Other material is coming back, right? Other chip is producing. So what happened? This whatever the chip is there, it's going to be break. So because of this factor also, you are going to get a discontinuous chip. These are the 4 reasons for getting the discontinuous chips. Brittle work material, the base material is brittle, low cutting speed, large feed and depth of cut, high tool chip friction. So because of high friction between the cutting tool and workpiece material, also possibilities are there that you will going to get a discontinuous chips. So this is about discontinuous chips. Is anybody want to have time to note down these points?
Sir, any disadvantages or advantages of these chips, sir?
Okay, you see disadvantages of discontinuous chips is what happened if it is a very small chip, it is fly off. So easily it can fly off and it can contact with the operator. So it is dangerous. So our operator has to be very careful, or he need to take proper precautions if the material is having discontinuous chips. So one disadvantages. Advantages, what is there? So whatever is happening in continuous chip, if continuous chips is coming out, what happened? It is going to wrap the cutting tool. So it is a hurdle. It will stop the cutting process. So that stopping of cutting process is not happening in discontinuous chips. Smooth cutting is possible in discontinuous chips, but dangerous to the operator. So that is the advantages, and one is the disadvantages. Further some advantages are that maybe for that maybe you can refer that. Main advantage is it is easily disposed. Chips are very easy to disposable, one advantage. And second advantage is normally surface is very smooth compared with continuous chips, because it is not interfering with the cutting tool, because once small chip is coming, it is flying off. It is not coming on the way to the cutting tool. That is advantage. And disadvantage is operator has to be very careful when these things are coming. Right? And in this image you can see here. So in this image, if you see, so in this slide, maybe here if you see bottom. So this is a cutting tool and this is the rotating material, the lathe material. Just you assume your wood turning lathe, whatever you've done. So this is rotating, and when you're introducing a cutting tool here, if it is a discontinuous chip, you see you are getting chips, very small size of chips are coming. It's not a continuous chips like carpentry has come. It's very discontinuous. Small pieces are coming out. So this is flying off. Disposal is very easy. Advantage, right? So, and if it is a continuous chips, maybe we can discuss in the next slide. So, any other questions? Is it required to note down this? Okay, if some students are not hearing, maybe it is problem from your side. So please, you can, if actually you check it your microphone properly. If microphone properly connected, you can hear, you can listen what I am telling to you. So still, if it is a problem is coming, somebody can go out and log in, but better to avoid it. You try to first you can check your microphone, your earphones or microphone which is connected to your phone or your system. Fine. So I'm going for next slide now. I'm telling you, I'm not going to share my slides. Remember this. So if anything is there, you can note down. Otherwise, you can take the screenshot. So even if you're taking the screenshot, please note down in your class notes immediately on the same day, in the evening or afternoon. So in your part of your assignment, I'm going to check your class notes also. So class note is important assignment for you, right? So assignment you're having a 5 marks, right? Internal you're having a 5 marks assignment. So in that 2 marks, I'm going to give you based upon your class notes. If your class notes is good, you're going to get 2 marks. If class notes is not good, but if class notes is there, you're going to get 1 mark. If you're not having class note, you're not writing anything in that, then it can going to be 0 only. In that out of 2 marks, I'm giving 0. And 3 marks assignment I'm giving to you, whatever the assignment is giving to you. And if you're writing the assignment and submitting to me, you're going to get the 3 marks. So remember this. So class notes, I'm going to give you the 2 marks for assignment. Even if you're not submitted assignment, whichever you're giving, if your class note is proper, you're going to get 2 marks directly. So then coming to the continuous chip. So in this, if you see here in this continuous chip, so here if you say whatever the this is there, here there is no small chips are there. It's continuously one chip is there. So this kind of chip, this kind of long running chip we used to call it as a ribbon, right? So this is a typical in continuous chips. Normally we used to have this kind of ribbons. So some students having some issues in class. Okay, I think nobody having any issue. Only a few students having they're not able to hear the voice. So please, if you're not hearing the voice, check your microphone. So continuous chips are normally produced when the machine steel is ductile material at high cutting speed. Just similar, quite contradictory to previous discontinuous chip. Whatever the conditions are there in discontinuous chip, quite opposite conditions if it is there, then it is coming to be continuous. It's become a continuous chip. So previously discontinuous chips for brittle material. So opposite to the brittle material is ductile material. If the workpiece material or nothing but blank material is a ductile material, then you are going to get this continuous chips. And similarly, high cutting speed. If cutting speed is higher, very fast speed you're going, and you're moving very fast, you whatever the cutting tool is there, if you take in lathe, if you have rotating the workpiece material very fast, so then also you're going to get a continuous chips. If the low speed is low, you're going to get discontinuous chip. If speed is faster, you're going to get a continuous chip. So ductile work material, high cutting speed, small feed and depth of cut. So in discontinuous chip, we have seen if it is giving long feed and long depth of cut, higher depth of cut, you're going to get the discontinuous chip. If you want to have a continuous chip, you need to give feed and depth of cut is very small in size. That's why I told you, you cannot give the feed more than 100 micron or maximum 200 micron for a metal. 200 microns means 0.2 mm of feed you need to give, not more than that. If you're giving more than that, maybe chips instead of continuous chips is coming out to be discontinuous chips. The sharp cutting edge, if cutting edge also very smooth, very sharp, then also it is very easily penetrate into the material, and whatever the breakage at the planing at the shear plane, it can avoidable by sharp edge. So using sharp edge also you're going to get a continuous chip. So these are the 5 reasons to getting continuous chips. So continuous chips is nothing but a long chip is coming out from the your machine surface, like ribbon, whatever you've seen in your carpentry. When you're doing planing, maybe you've seen when you're doing planing, right? When you're smoothing some your surface, so on the in front of cutter, so whatever the cutter we are introducing, so in front of cutter you're getting some kind of materials coming and wounding up. So this is that we used to call as a ribbon. So whatever the ribbon we are using, right, in our homes and in our maybe whenever making a banner, we are putting some ribbons, right? So in that long ribbon kind of thing is coming out. So that kind of ribbon is a continuous. That's why this kind of chips we used to call as a continuous chips. So continuous chips are coming. Reason for the continuous chip, they are the 5 reasons. So ductile work material, high cutting speed, small feed and depth, sharp cutting edges, low tool chip friction. If friction between the cutting tool and workpiece is smaller, then we are getting continuous chip. There is no friction is happening between the cutting tool and workpiece, and there is no kind of wear and tear is happened in the chip. That's why you're going to get the continuous chip. So discontinuous chips, quite opposite reasons. So depth of work material, ductile, instead of ductile, it's a brittle work material. High cutting speed, there is a low cutting speed. Small feed, there is a high feed or heavy speed, heavy feed and depth of cut. Sharp cutting edge, so cutting edge is not a matter for discontinuous chips. So low tool chip friction, so there is high friction. So these are the basic two types of chip. Actually, basically, if you classify, the continuous and discontinuous chips are there. But in some continuous chips, you are finding some kind of build-up edges. That's why this is the third category of your chips. So when the friction between the tool and chip is very high, so when is high, you are going to get discontinuous chips for brittle material. If the friction is very high, but material is a ductile material, normally when material is a ductile material, you are going to get a continuous chip. Even material is a ductile material, but friction between the tool and workpiece is very high, then what happened? This workpiece and tool is going to adhere, going to stick each other, right? So our chip, whatever the material is coming out, maybe stick on the workpiece, or maybe workpiece, the cutting tool, whatever is there, it may stick on the chip. So because of this sticking, what happened? There is some kind of build-up edges formed. So here cutting tool is coming forward. You see here some kind of build-up edges formed, because at this particular point, the cutting tool and workpiece material having high friction. So because of high friction, high heat is generating. So because of high heat, your whatever the material is there become soft and soft. Even with small force, a small portion of material is removed and stick to this this workpiece, right? So this kind of edges, whatever is forming, is called as the build-up edge. So here chip is continuous only. Along with the continuous chips, you're getting some kind of build-up edge. Build-up edge can come here, or maybe build-up edge is coming here also. So sometimes build-up edge is forming on the workpiece with the tool with the workpiece, and sometimes tool with the chip also. So maybe build-up edge may come here at this particular position, interface between chip and work face, tool face, sorry, chip and tool, or tool and workpiece. Maybe it is coming at this particular point. So before when cutting is there, so this tool tip was here. So here some kind of build-up edges happen. So this kind of things used to call as continuous chip. Chip is continuous, like previous to whatever the slides you've seen. But only thing, there is a small build-up edge. Build-up edge is formed here. Even sometimes build-up edge may form here also. So with this kind of chips, we used to call as continuous chips with build-up edge. So for normal, for short form, it is called as a BUE, right? So when the friction between the tool and chip is high while machining the ductile material. So continuous chips normally is formed only in ductile material, not for the brittle material. Brittle material always has to get only discontinuous chips. So like cast iron, if you see cast iron, so cast iron is a brittle material. When you're machining a cast iron on lathe or milling, on shaper, on whichever, so mostly you're going to get very small size of the metal pieces are coming out from them. But if it is doing the ductile material like mild steel, so whatever you're doing in your lathe machine, so normally in lathe machine, whatever the workpiece is giving to you, it is a mild steel. So mild steel, maybe you studied in your mechanics of solid as well as in your MMS, metallurgy and material science. So there maybe you have studied that. So this material normally, the mild steel is a ductile material. So when you're machining a ductile material, you're going to get some kind of continuous chips. So when the friction between the tool and chip is higher, and in addition to the ductile material, if the friction is higher between the tool and chip, tool and workpiece, then you are going to get this kind of build-up edges. Some particles of chips adhere to the tool rake face. So tool rake face at this particular point, and the tip. So whatever the tip is there near to this, maybe you're going to get some kind of bonding is happening between the chip and tool. So when such sizable material pile up, so what happened in this particular point? So this whatever when it's sticking to that one, so because of high forces, so metal is coming out continuously. So this cannot stick much long time. In that case, once this stick is removed, then when your stick is removed, maybe whatever the chip is there, this is removing some small portion of the material from this surface. So because of build-up edges, your life of cutting tool is decreases. This is more dangerous case among all the three types of chips. So chips with build-up edges normally harm the tool surface as well as the workpiece surface. Normally we try to avoid this kind of thing. So if you see any kind of build-up edges are happening in your machining process, then you try to reduce the friction between the cutting tool and workpiece. When such sizable material pile up, the rake faces it act as a cutting edges. In place of the cutting edges, a term as whatever the cutting edges are formed, that used to call as a build-up edges. By virtue of work hardening, and even because this is happening very high temperature, because whenever the friction is there, very high temperature is involving. When high temperature, the material is cooling down very fastly, there is some kind of heat treatment is happening. So this heat treatment, because very fast cooling is happening, so this kind of heat treatment we used to call as a hardening, right? So in your MMS, metallurgy and material science, you studied about hardening process. So hardening happening here. So we always try to stop this hardening process. So if become hardening means your workpiece material is become very hard. If next round of material cutting you are doing, so when because of this become hard material, your tool is going to blunt. So that's why we always try to avoid continuous chips with build-up edge. So build-up edge is not good for the machining. So reason for this build-up edge is obviously because continuous chips means it's the ductile material only. In addition to ductile material, low or medium cutting speed. So if your cutting speed is very slow speed, you are operating you are rotating your workpiece or operating your machine. So at that time, ductile material with low cutting speed and low cutting depth of cut. So then this kind of build-up edge is forming. And also tool chip friction causes portion of the chip to adhere to the rake face. Means if you're having very high friction. So previously we have seen discontinuous chips also have a friction, but even further high friction if it is happening between the workpiece and cutting tool for a ductile material, not for the brittle material. If it is a brittle material, it's a discontinuous chips. But if it's a ductile material and high surface friction between the cutting tool and workpiece and small speed or feed in cutting tool, then this kind of build-up edges are forming. So this build-up edges forms, then break off cyclically. So break off means whatever the things are that is sticking and it is removing a material from this whatever the build-up edge is happening. So build-up edge is happening because of sticking between the tool and workpiece or tool and chip. So after some time, what happened? This is coming out. So because of this coming out, it is wearing out the cutting tool. So this break off is happening in chip as well as in cutting tool. So that's why your build-up edge is one of the dangerous situations. So always we try to avoid the continuous chips with build-up edges. Discontinuous chips is fine. Only thing operator has to be careful. Continuous chips also good. Only thing continuous chips are coming. Only thing sometimes it is winding up your your cutting tool. So try to prevent that by breaking the your continuous chip. So we need to introduce some kind of chip breakers. Maybe in the next slide we can see that. So normally when your continuous chip is coming, so there is a disadvantage is happening that so these continuous chips may be wound out around the cutting tool. So what is the tool is there? So in that further growing forward for cutting is difficult. Then what we used to do, this continuous chips we need to break after some periodically some point. So for that we need to have extra attachment is required in the cutting tool, or nothing but extra projection has to give in the cutting tool. So that extra projection or that extra attachment used to call as a chip breaker. So this used to see whatever the extra step you can see. Normally you see, so your cutting tool has to be have normally plain, right? So cutting tool normally used to have like this only. So this is a typical cutting tool. But here we are giving an extra step is giving in the cutting tool. So this extra step is giving to break this continuous chip. So if continue for ductile material, if you're machining, you're getting some continuous chip is coming. So this continuous chip is going and this is wounding on this cutting tool. So if you're wounding on cutting tool, further cutting is difficult. That's why what we used to happen. So if you're providing this kind of edge, so at this particular end, after it is going to be this much long of the chip, it is going to break at this particular point. So this chip breaker purpose is to break the continuous chips into a small pieces or maybe at a periodical interval of the cutting, it has to break the chip. So long continuous chips are undesirable in some cases because I told you this is wounding like this. It's undesirable. That's why we used to introduce chip breakers. So chip breaker is a piece of metal clamped to the rake surface of the tool which bend the chip and break it. So maybe sometimes you need to make it as a step in this, or sometimes if it is workpieces like this only, then we need to introduce some kind of chip breaker and you need to fasten, you need to bolt it with this. So maybe you can have some kind of bolting you have to do on this. So this portion is acting as a chip breaker. So sometimes you are giving in the chip. So chip can also be broken by changing the tool geometry. So maybe within the part of the tool you are making a kind of step. So by making a tool geometry also you can making as a chip breaker, or maybe separate attachment as a chip breaker you are attaching to your cutting tool. These are the three different types of chips are there. Anybody having any question? because I'm finding maybe some students are maybe, I don't know whether understand or not. If anybody not understand, please ask me. So continuous chips, discontinuous chips, continuous chips, then continuous chips with build-up edges. These are the three different types of chips are there. Zishan, are you listening?
Yes, sir.
So when discontinuous chips will happen? I am asking to Ismail Hashir. So can you tell me when discontinuous chips will happen? Ismail Hashir, 3B1, 17RT 3B1. Ismail Hashir. I am giving you absent if you're not responding. Mohammad Nisar Ahmed, can you tell me? 318.
Yes, sir. Because of the friction.
Okay, because of the friction, discontinuous chips will happen. Yes. So everybody please attempt in the class. Anytime I can ask any question to any student. So Ismail Hashir is going to get absent in this class. Fine. So we can continue for next class, or I can give a break of 5 to 10 minutes.
Please continue.
Okay.
Sir, continue.
Okay. We'll go for next slide. Yes. So then coming to be different kind of cutting process. Previously we've seen different kinds of chips are there. Now we can see the types of cutting process. So cutting process based upon the angle between the cutting tool and cutting edge, we can classify it into two different cutting operations. One is called as a orthogonal cutting and second calling it as a oblique cutting. So orthogonal cutting is also called as a two-dimensional cutting. So in this, maybe in this picture, maybe you can see, you see in this here. So this is a typical cutting tool. So this edge, whatever edge you're seeing here, so this is a typical cutting edge, right? So this is a cutting edge, and this is the direction of movement of your cutting tool or workpiece. So this is a cutting direction, and this is a cutting edge. If this cutting edge and cutting direction are perpendicular to each other, that is 90 degrees, then this cutting process is called as a orthogonal cutting. So this type of cutting is called as a orthogonal cutting. So only two. So one direction of cutting and cutting edge is perpendicular to each other. So means your cutting edge is this. So just assume this is a cutting edge. So this cutting edge is cutting in this direction. It is moving in this direction. So both are perpendicular. Then it is considering as a orthogonal cutting. So orthogonal cutting is a two-dimensional cutting. So because if you see here, this is my cutting velocity, cutting direction, and this is the cutting edge. So both, if you want to see, you can see within one plane. So if you take on the top edge, so one side is a cutting edge and one side is the direction. If you're coming in the single plane, so normally orthogonal cutting can be solved in two-dimensional view itself. You don't have any third view. Third view is not, other view is not required. Two-dimensional view, we can understand what are the forces are coming. Second type of cutting, if it is not 90 degrees. So if it is 90 degrees, it's orthogonal cutting. If it is any other than 90 degrees, for example, you are not cutting like this. Maybe your edge is a little bit inclined. So some inclination is there. So that kind of cutting is called as a oblique cutting. So maybe you can see in the second picture. So this picture, if you see, so this is a typical oblique cutting. So oblique cutting is considering as a three-dimensional cutting. So the cutting edge of the tool is set at an angle to the direction of the motion. So it's not a perpendicular, it is some angle if it is giving. So that kind of cutting tool is considering as a oblique cutting. So oblique cutting and orthogonal cutting, just assume. So every cutting is a oblique cutting only, right? So your direction of cutting to cutting tool as well as the edge used to have some angle, right? So used to have some 10 degrees, 30 degrees, 60 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, whatever is there, some angle is there. So whatever the cutting is there, that's called as a oblique cutting only. But if the direction is 90 degrees, then we can use called as a orthogonal cutting. So we can define orthogonal cutting like this also. Orthogonal cutting, one type of oblique cutting where the cutting edge and cutting direction is mutually perpendicular or nothing but 90 degrees, right? So oblique cutting, these are the two major cutting processes, oblique cutting and orthogonal cutting. So most of our calculations, we are not going to think about oblique cutting, right? If you see in this, so this, whatever the cutting edge is there, it is inclined some angle. It's not 90 degrees. Some inclination is there. So other than 90 degrees, it may be less or more, right? If you're checking from here, it is maybe coming somewhere about 75. If it is taking from here, if you're having some axis here, and here if you measure, it is coming something about 105 degrees. So anything other than 90 degrees, if it is coming inclination between the direction as well as the edge, other than 90 degrees, if it is coming, then we can call it as a oblique cutting. If it is a 90 degrees, it's a orthogonal cutting. So orthogonal cutting, why we most of the our cutting process, we are assuming it as a orthogonal cutting. So why we need to assume it's an orthogonal cutting? So that our calculations will be easier. We can easily see our all the forces, whatever is coming on our workpiece or cutting tool. So if you want to solve this problem, you need to have one side view is sufficient. If you say this view, so in this, whatever this direction is there, the direction you can consider your cutting direction, and this, whatever the direction is there, you can say it as a cutting edge. So cutting direction and cutting edge are both are perpendicular. But if you coming in this you cannot solve with the two direction. You need to have third direction also. So whatever the cutting edge is there, whatever the force are coming in cutting edge, that can resolve into two mutually perpendicular direction, right? So those two mutually perpendicular direction, this one direction, so this one direction, and direction of velocity. So you used to get three different directions are coming in oblique cutting. That's why this called as a three-dimensional cutting. And this three-dimensional cutting solving is not easy. It is difficult. For timing, for this particular course, we are trying to avoid oblique cutting. We are focusing only on orthogonal cutting. So orthogonal cutting is nothing but two-dimensional cutting. Please remember this. People, please note down these things: orthogonal cutting and oblique cutting. So this one question maybe for 2 marks, maybe one question can expect from this. Types of chips or types of cutting process. Right? So we can move for next slide.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
I want every student, please note down, maximum try to note down your class notes. If you not note down, maybe you are somewhere outside. In that case, maybe at least you can take a screenshot. And once you go to the home and once you're free, then please note down all the things, whatever is there in the screenshot, please note down in your class notes. Then cutting temperature. So always, so where is there, when there is a friction is there, so definitely there is a heat generation is happening, friction and relative motion is there between the workpiece and cutting tool. So then obviously there is some kind of heat is generating. I told you initially when discussing about properties of cutting tool material. So most important thing is hardness, I told you, right? Why hardness? Because at this particular point when cutting is happening, because of friction and because of relative motion between the two object, that is tool and workpiece, there is a very high heats are generating. So because of this high heat, temperature of the workpiece material is rising. It's maybe rising to 200 degrees centigrade, 300 degrees centigrade, or maybe 400 degrees centigrade, rising to very high temperature. To avoid that, so we need to understand from where this heat is coming and how this heat has to dissipate. So so maximum whatever the workpiece, whatever the energy we are supplying to the workpiece or tool, so in that 98% of the energy is converting into heat energy. So maybe you studied in your thermodynamics as well as in a thermal engineering, and I hope in your previously whatever the completed in thermal engineering too, also you know that as per the thermal engineering basics, as per thermodynamic basics, no energy can be destroyed, right? Energy can convert only from one form to other form. So whatever the energy we are supplying in the form of electricity or in the form of force on this workpiece to cut the material, 2% of energy using for cutting and 98% of energy is consuming, coming out in the form of a heat. So and this heat is increasing the temperature. So this heat, whatever the heat is liberating, is causing temperature to be going to be very high. That mostly chip temperature as well as the tool temperature is going to be very high. That's why anytime we are doing any kind of cutting, so in your carpentry or maybe in your machines and lathe, so after machining, if you touch your cutting tool, the cutting tool is very hot. And it is a basic precaution written in your workshop or anywhere manufacturing lab or any job floor. If you go, clearly instructions are written: don't touch moving objects or don't touch cutting tools used to written there, because the cutting tool temperature is very high. It's somewhere about 300 degrees, 400 degrees centigrade. So at 400 degrees centigrade, something if you touch with your finger, just assume what will happen. इन योर किचन, अगर आपके घर में कभी भी अगर कुछ चीज अगर प्रेशर कुकर या फिर कुछ भगोना कभी हाथ से पकड़ लिया आप, तो आपको जबरदस्त चुरका लगता, तो वो टेम्परेचर ऑफ दैट इज हार्डली 100 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड और 120 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड, बट हियर टेम्परेचर इज स्टिल हायर, it is somewhere about 300 400 degrees centigrade. Just imagine what happened to your fingers may burnt. So that's why when you are there in the workshop, you need to be very careful, not supposed to touch your work tools and cutting tools, especially after finishing of cutting process. Before cutting process you can touch it, not a problem, it is at room temperature, but after cutting up to some time you cannot touch with your hand. If you want, you can have a gloves, you wear a gloves in your hand, then you can touch them. So manually you cannot touch. The instructor used to instructing always warning to you, right? Don't touch the workpiece. Why? Because of this, the temperature of the workpiece or the temperature of the tool is going to be very high. The remaining energy, whatever the 2% of the energy, retaining as the elastic energy in the chip. So the whatever the 2% energy consuming are required for the this cutting is for deforming of the chip. Whatever the chip is coming, for the deformation you need to have some force, that some force causing some kind of energy. The 2% of energy is consuming for the deformation of the chip, and remaining 98% of energy is converting into the heat, and it is dissipating. High cutting temperatures, so reduce the tool to. So what happened if cutting temperature is very high? If instead of 400, even if a friction is higher, so maybe your cutting tool is not properly finished, if you're not grinding properly as done, even your surface finish is very not very smooth, or maybe you are giving very high depth of cut, so that it is increasing the friction, then temperature is increases very high. So if temperature is increases high, what happened? For most important thing, what happened is it's reducing your tool life. So whatever the tool you're using, that used to be blunt very fast if the temperature rise very high temperature. If it is a low temperature, the life of the tool is higher. If the temperature is higher, life of the tool is lower. So life of the tool is inversely proportionate to your temperature generating during machining process, right? So cutting temperature. And similarly, it produced the hard chips that pose safety hazards to the machine operators. So similarly, so when cutting tool is heated, at the same time your chip also become hotter. If very hot temperature chips are there, it's very difficult for the operator to handle, or maybe even to touch them, or maybe even he cannot stand even some distance from the chip, because of radiation, some kind of heat is coming out at higher temperature bodies. Maybe you studied in your radiation in physics, or maybe in your thermodynamics, maybe you studied. If some material is heated very high temperature, then obviously, right? So what happened? From high temperature body, it is giving some kind of radiation. When giving some kind of radiation, so then that high temperature is facing by the operator. So that is hazardous to the operator to work there, and as well as to dispose the chips. So what are the chips are coming, it has to dispose properly. So produce hard chips that poses the safety hazards to the machine operator, as well as to cause the inaccuracies in part dimensions due to the thermal expansion of the work material. So almost this is one of the most important, most disadvantageous things is happening in the increasing temperature, because as the temperature is increases, your dimensions are nothing but coefficient of thermal expansion is happening, right? Every material having a coefficient of thermal expansion. Every material used to expand if it is heating to a high temperature. When it expand to higher temperature, whatever the machining is there, you need to make some standard dimension. So maintaining this standard dimension is difficult if temperature is going to be very high. So these are the three effects are happening if temperature is increasing to very high during machining process. So please, these things also students can note down. Otherwise, please take screenshot. So then what need to do? So these are the some drawbacks are happening by increasing the temperature of cutting tool or increasing the temperature of cutting process. Now what we need to do? We need to try to reduce the temperature. Right. So first, how this reduce the temperature, how this disposal is happening, how this heat is generating mostly by the friction between these three parts. So these three are the major heat generators in any cutting process. One is interface between cutting tool and workpiece. Second one is interface between the cutting tool and chip. Third one is interface between the workpiece and chip. So wherever the deformation is happening, so at deformation also some heat is generating. So these are the three different places where heat is generating. So mostly it is a relative motion between chip and workpiece, chip and tool and the workpiece. And similarly, when the deformation is happening at this particular point, this is also causing some kind of heat in the material. If you take the relative heat dissipation, 80% of the heat, whatever the heat is coming on the cutting tool and the workpiece, 80% of the energy, 80% of the heat is converted into heat in chip. So whatever the heat is there, 80% of the heat is concentrated in chip, and 80% of the heat energy is converting into heat, and 18% of the heat, whatever the heat is there, that is concentrating on the cutting tool, and only 2% of the heat is going to be in workpiece material. So whatever the heat is going in the workpiece material is very less. That's why we don't want to bother about this, right? We don't want to worry about workpiece, but we need to worry about the tool. So we need to select a tool made of particular material which can withstand even at higher temperatures. And highest heat is coming in the form of a chips. That's why we need to properly dispose the chips, or we need to have some kind of cooling mechanism to these chips. So coming to this one, then for this, to avoid this kind of heating, we used to use some kind of cutting fluids. Normally for soft material where applying force is less or somewhere friction is less, in that material normally cutting fluid is not needed. So whatever you are used in wood, so wood is a soft material, right? So in soft material normally you need not need to require very high force. So very less force you can complete the machining process. So there force is less means energy is less. So when you are applying less energy, the production of heat is decreases. So in those applications, you don't want to have any cutting fluids. But normally when you're machining a metal, especially high strength material, high friction material, for that we need to have a separate cutting fluids are required. So these cutting fluids we used to call as a coolants, or maybe you can call it as a lubricant. If you're using both the purpose. So reducing the heat, whatever the heat is generating, that heat it is dissipating, is acting as a coolant, as well as it is reduce the friction. So actually because of friction, heat is generating. So what is this cutting fluid intention aim is to reduce that friction. If it is a reduce the friction, then obviously whatever the heat generating, that will coming down. So less heat is generating. The function of the cutting fluid is, one is lubricating. So lubrication means reducing the friction between the cutting tool and workpiece. Second one, it is cooling. So whatever the chips are coming out, so 18% of the 80% of heat is carried by chips. So these coolant, if you're using cutting fluids, this is used to cool the cutting chips, as well as it's cool your cutting tool also. 18% of the heat is coming out by cutting tool. So both cutting by using the cutting fluid, both your chips as well as your cutting tool is cooled down. And also it is acting as a chip removal, because especially if it is a discontinuous chips, so you need to have a medium. Any questions? Any questions? Everybody please mute your microphones. Mute your microphone. Imaduddin Ahmad, mute your earphone, mic. I am repeatedly telling to every student, please don't switch on your mic. Switch off your mic and listen the classes carefully. The functions of cutting fluid, the important functions are these are the three important functions of any cutting fluid. One is cooling, that is giving us a second point, and also lubrication, reducing the friction. Third one is removing the chips, especially for discontinuous chips, it is acting as a removing the chips. Even for continuous chips also, we used to provide some kind of chip breaker, and we need to break the continuous chip after some particular length. So these small length of the chips also can carried by these cutting fluids. So these are the three functions of. Yes.
Sir, that chip breaker comes with the work material only, sir.
Yes, mostly
with the work material.
Not work material. It's with the tool. It is chip breakers is coming part of the tool. So maybe I've shown you, right? So this is a typical chip breaker. So you see whatever the edge you're seeing. So this whatever you're seeing the blue, this is your workpiece, and whatever sharp. So this is sharp means this is a tool, right? And this is the chip your chip breaker. So chip breaker is become part of your tool, not part of workpiece, right?
Okay, sir.
Sir, so it depends on the tool, sir.
Yes, it is depending upon tool. You need to give some kind of extra edge has to give on the cutting tool. So that extra edge is acting as a chip cutter. If you don't want to give it the part of tool, then what you used to have, like externally you need to bolt it something on the cutting tool. So maybe some small rectangular piece you need to bolt it on the cutting tool. So this rectangular piece, whichever is there, whatever the edges of the rectangular piece, that piece is acting as a chip cutter, chip breakers that used to cut the chips, right? So
Okay.
there is a two different kinds of cutting fluids are there. One used to call as the straight aisle, which is using from the normally for petroleum oils, whatever we are using, we used to call as the straight aisle, directly we are using. And the second one is called as a soluble oil. Soluble oil normally mixing with the water and then we are using. So if any oil we directly we can use, that kind of oils is called as a straight oils, directly we are using. Soluble oils means some oils we are mixing in the water, and along with the water and that oil we are using as a cutting fluid. So that kind of is cutting fluid is all calling it as a soluble oils. So straight oils as well as the soluble oils. Normally straight oils is coming from petroleum products, whatever the grease you're using, whatever the lubricates you're using. Servo engine oil we are putting in our bikes, right? So this servo engine oil is coming from petroleum product, right? So this is direct, this is calling it as a straight oil. And where is the soluble oil means something, some oils or something we can mixing in the water, and along with the water we are using, that used to call as a soluble oil. Soluble oil may be water based oils, right? So these are the cutting, these are the fluids, cutting fluids we are using. Any question in cutting fluid?
No, sir.
So we can continue or we can take a break. So almost 70 minutes are over.
Please continue, sir.
Okay. So I hope everybody listening. So not only telling continue, everybody is attentive in the class. So there is only 20 students are there in the class now.
Yes, sir.
So previously it was 22, no 20. So students are not coming classes regularly. So I am not going any favorism to anybody. If somebody is not coming to the classes, directly I am giving you absent. Don't expect any kind of attendance to you from this class if anybody is not coming to class. Please inform to your friends. Fine. So we can go for next slide. So the mechanism of cutting. So same thing, whatever the principle of cutting you are seeing, the similar kind of thing is there. So cutting action involve shear deformation. So already we discussed. So there is some kind of shear deformation is happening in the material. So at shear plane. So whatever is there. So here some kind of shear deformation is happening. So this cutting action is happening because of this shear deformation. If this shear deformation is not there, then what will happen? This material may not remove from this. So from the surface. So if it is, just assume. So while cutting tool is moving, cutting tool anyhow it is separating the layer of the material from here. At the same time, if it is this bending is not happening, if shearing is not happened, so this cutting to this whatever the workpiece material is not coming out in the form of a chips. So because of shear deformation of the work material, so this because of shear deformation, material is removing in the form of a chips. So cutting action involves shear deformation of the work material to form a chip. As chip is removed, new surface is exposed. So whatever the surface, if this, so whatever the material is there, so whatever this layer of the material is there, so this layer of the material is removed in the form of a chip. So below this layer, whatever material layer, whatever the surface is there, that is exposed like this. When cutting tool is passed from here, so this surface used to expose. So I told you we are concentrating only orthogonal cutting. Oblique cutting, we are not worrying about oblique cutting. So for this course, we are focusing on orthogonal cutting. So in orthogonal cutting, assumes that the cutting edge of the tool is set in a position that is perpendicular to the direction of relative work. So whatever the work or tool, whatever the work moving or maybe whatever the tool moving, to that your cutting edge is perpendicular. That is we are assuming in orthogonal cutting. So in every problem solving, so whatever the problems we are discussing, whether the force or energy or whatever things are there, we are assuming the cutting tool or whatever the cutting operation is there, it is orthogonal cutting. So it is allow the forces in only one planar direction. So for calculation, for geometrical representation will be easy if you considering orthogonal cutting. That's why to make our problem to be simple, we consider our cutting as a orthogonal cutting, not as a oblique cutting. So orthogonal cutting, these are the few points are there. So ideal orthogonal cutting is when the cutting edge of the tool is straight and perpendicular to the direction of the motion, right? So cutting tool, if you take this is a cutting tool, it has to be have a straight. So just if you see this is a cutting tool, it must just see this is It's the straight and perpendicular to the from which direction it is moving. Means perpendicular to this, it has to move. The direction of motion is perpendicular to the edge of the cutting tool. That kind of cutting operation is called as orthogonal cutting. So during machining or during orthogonal cutting, the material is removed from the chip, which are generated by shear deformation along the plane called as the shear plane. Already explained to you. Whatever the shear plane is there, their deformation is happening. The surface of tool on which the chip flow across is called as the face or rake face. So last class I told you. So on which surface of the cutting tool these chips are flowing. So that surface is called as a tool face or nothing but face, also called as the rake face. Rake face, tool face or face is the same in the cutting tool. So rake face. The surface that forms other boundaries other than this, whatever the surface is there, which is touching to the workpiece is called as the flank. This also we have seen in our last class. So portion, the surface of the cutting tool on which chip is flowing is called as the face, and surface of the cutting tool which portion is touching with the workpiece is called as the flank. So touching with the workpiece, we used to have two surfaces. That's why every cutting tool used to have two flanks. Whereas the rake face, only one face only chip is flowing. That's why your face is only one, or rake face is only one, but flank is two flanks are there for every cutting tool. So mechanisms of orthogonal cutting, just now we can see about few kind of mathematical calculations. So till now I have explained to you about the concepts, about the theory. So now we are going to see about some kind of derivation, some kind of formulas we are going to see. So this is a typical orthogonal cutting process, right? Just we are assuming, so this whatever the portion is there, so whatever the tip we are assuming this point, so this is a cutting point, and perpendicular to our screen, whatever the line is there of this tool, that is considering as a cutting edge. So this cutting edge, whatever is there, this is moving in this direction, right? So this is the perpendicular to the face, and this is the parallel to the face. So angle between the cutting edge as well as the direction of motion is perpendicular, right? So if it is perpendicular, we can call it as a orthogonal cutting. So this cutting process is considering as a orthogonal cutting, right? So in this orthogonal cutting, so initially this is the layer of the material we try to remove from the workpiece. The initial layer of the material are nothing but this is considering as a T1. So initial thickness. So initial thickness T1. T1 we are assuming it as a uncut or undeformed chip thickness, because at this particular portion, whatever the portion is there, so this portion of the material is not deformed. It is with the workpiece. So undeformed are nothing but uncut chip. So this also we can assume it as a chip. So whatever the material is coming out from this, so this portion which is bent from here, this we used to consider as a chip portion. So as the material is coming out, it is dimensions may change. So dimensions are changing because of the two factors you studied in your mechanics of solids. Stresses or deformations are two types. One is mechanical deformation, which deformation is happening by application of force. And second one is thermal deformation or thermal strains you studied in your mechanics of solids. So change in the dimensions are causing some kind of stresses because of temperature difference. So here both are happening. So you applying a force on this cutting tool, you are applying a force, and you are penetrating this tool into the workpiece, and as well as because of this penetration, there is a friction is there, temperature is increasing. So because of both the reason, there is a deformation is happening in the material. So initial dimension of the workpiece are nothing but this chip, uncut chip thickness, as well as cut chip thickness are nothing but chip thickness may not be the same. So this whatever the T1 is there, it's initial thickness are nothing but uncut chip thickness or undeformed chip thickness. Undeformed chip thickness or undeformed material thickness. And whatever the chip thickness is there, so this is T2. T2 is considered as chip thickness or nothing but after cutting, whatever the chip is coming, after cutting thickness. So T2 is deformed chip thickness. So after deformation, or if normal terms, some textbook is mentioned as chip thickness. T2 is the chip thickness, T1 is uncut chip thickness. So when before cutting the chip, whatever is there in the base material or blank material, so thickness of that is considering as a T1 and chip thickness is considering as a T2. And there is one more angle, which is the important angle what we discussed in that is rake angle, nothing but back rake angle. Most important thing is the back rake angle. So it's nothing but angle between, because here you're tilted your workpiece 90 degrees. So whatever the surface, whatever your face is there, face are nothing but surface of the cutting tool. We used to considering as a face, right? So face and inclination with your vertical plane is considering as a rake angle. Rake angle are nothing but back rake angle. In our last class tool geometry, if you say, so this alpha is nothing but back rake angle. So in that there is a T1, this is a T2, and this is a backrake angle, and also there is a one more angle is there here. So angle between the direction of motion and plane of shear. So this is, we told that this is a shear plane. The angle between the shear plane is called as the shear angle. So here shear angle is represented by theta and backrake angle is represented by alpha. So please remember this. These derivations may come in your exam. So this is a chip thickness ratio. So cutting ratio or cutting chip thickness ratio. Normally we used to call it as a cut ratio, cutting ratio. Cutting ratio is represented by R. So this is giving a dimension ratio of initial thickness and chip thickness, uncut chip thickness and chip thickness, T1 by T2. So in this, R is the chip thickness ratio or cutting ratio, and T1 is the uncut chip thickness, which already I showed you in the previous slide, and T2 is the chip thickness, and alpha is the rake angle. So angle between the rake face or nothing but cutting face and vertical plane, and theta is the shear angle. Shear angle is the angle between a cutting tool motion, direction of the cutting tool, and the shear plane. So angle between those two. So here that is represented by theta. So these two angles, two linear dimensions will give you one ratio. So that ratio is called as a cutting ratio. So always remember, cutting ratio R is always less than 1. Why? Because your initial thickness of uncut chip thickness, whatever the chip is attached in the workpiece or blank, always thickness is less than what is the cut thickness. So because why? Because when the chip is coming out from your workpiece, your thickness of the chip is increasing because of temperature, because of lot of other factors. Because you are applying some kind of force in the lateral direction, that way longitudinal and opposite in 90 degrees it will expand. That's why your thickness of the chip is always more than thickness of the material within your raw material blank. Uncut chip thickness is always more than cut chip thickness or chip thickness. That's why R value is always come less than 1. So chip thickness after cut always greater than before, means chip thickness is always more than uncut chip thickness. That's why your ratio is always less than 1, because we are calculating T1 by T2, initial thickness by final thickness. So final thickness is always higher. So T1 by T2 always coming less than or equal to 1. If temperature expansion or maybe your mechanical force lateral deflection is coming to be less, then maybe your T2 expansion we may be neglect. In that case, we can consider as T1 is equal to T2. In that case, R value is coming as 1. Means whatever the thickness of the uncut material, the same material thickness of the material is generating in chip. So these are the few important points are there about cutting ratio. So everybody please take this, note down these points. Cutting ratio R equal to T1 by T2. So T1 is uncut chip thickness, T2 is chip cut thickness, and R is the chipness thickness ratio, alpha is the rake angle, and phi theta is the shear angle. Alpha and theta maybe we will take it next slide. Please pay attention, everybody. Please note down this, otherwise you can take a screenshot. Can I go for next slide? If somebody noting down, I will stop it.
Yes,
if nobody, I can go for next slide. Okay, fine.
Sir, next slide.
Okay. Then in orthogonal cutting, there is a relation is there. So shear, I told you previously, I taken R equal to T1 by T2, right? So now we need to have a relation between all the 5 points, whatever we discussed previously, shear angle theta, as well as the rake angle alpha, and T1, T2 ratio of R. So ratio of R, normally this is a popular relation between the theta, alpha and R. Tan theta, theta is nothing but shear angle. Tan of shear angle equal to the thickness ratio R into cos alpha divided by 1 minus R sin alpha. So this is one of the important relation for chip thickness ratio or nothing but cutting ratio, to calculate the cutting ratio. So everybody has to remember this. Just I want to going for next slide. Just how this value is coming, that I'm going to see here. So how this formula, this will be my most probably
Sir,
last slide. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Note down this. I'm going for derivation because some formula is given to you and to understand, remember is difficult. That's why just I will to derive this equation in next slide. Can I go for next slide?
Yes, sir.
So here just I'm taking the same formula. You take in the bottom of the slide, tan theta equal to R into cos alpha by 1 minus R sin alpha. So how this value has come, this formula has come. So this formula has come from this relation. So maybe you can see here. This is nothing but this is our cutting tool, right? Cutting geometry. So in this cutting geometry, I am taking this portion. So especially the shear zone, whichever is there, I am taking the shear zone and drawing that at this particular point, right? So this is the cutting tool, the same cutting tool, whatever the cutting tool is this here, the same cutting tool is here, right? We will take this as bottom. The same cutting tool is here, right? This cutting tool is this one. And here, instead of taking a chip and workpiece, just I'm drawing the different angles and different thicknesses here. So this, whatever this line you're seeing, so whatever this line, then maybe for timing, I'm assuming it as this as a. This point is A, this point is B, this point is C, right? So this point I'm writing it as D. So in that, AC is nothing but whatever this slip plane. So this we told slip plane, right? Whatever the plane at which your material is deforming. So this chip plane, I am just writing it in this particular point. This line is nothing but AC, right? So this I am drawing here, and here with this line considering as a hypotenuse, I constructed one triangle, right? So this is one triangle is coming. ABC, I form a triangle. And similarly here, if you take this chip value, so actually whatever the thickness, the chip thickness, we are not measuring by using this shear plane. We are drawing one line perpendicular to this face. So this is the thickness of the thickness of the chip. So this is T2. So actually this is not the T2. This is T2. How we got this T2? By drawing a perpendicular line from the face of your tool to other edge of the chip. So this, whatever the line is giving, this whatever the dimension is giving, this is considering as the T2. So same thing I try to develop here. So I am trying to draw a line, perpendicular line from the surface, from wherever the surface is there, I am drawing a line, and this line I am drawing a perpendicular line here. Just I am assuming. So here I am drawing. So even you can draw here also. I need to draw a perpendicular line here, right? So this line is drawing, it's going like this. So I make sure that whatever the A point is there, this point, this whatever the perpendicular line is there, it has to pass through A. Then what happened? I construct a line and move this line to be at this particular point. Otherwise, I can draw a line in a few lines I need to draw. Whichever point the line which is the perpendicular line it is touching with the A point, that we need to have our actual point is required for our this derivation. So here what happened? We have two different triangles are formed. For time being, maybe I'm erasing these lines, right? These lines I'm erasing. So just you see here we have the two triangles.
That perpendicular line we can draw at any angle, sir.
No, perpendicular line means it has to be 90 degrees, right? What is in the perpendicular line?
No, sir. Means you told no, sir, that point should be touched to A.
Yes, that point, you see, you need to perpendicular to this tool, you see perpendicular to your face, and it has to touch with this A point. Wherever point you want to draw on this, that is may not touch here. If you draw a point from this point, then only this line will touch with A. So initially, maybe you've seen I drawn a line here. So, but this line is not touching with A. Then what happened? I drawn a parallel line to this, which is passing to A. That line is required. That line is nothing but AD. Right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So that you're perpendicular to the face of the object, and that line has to pass through a particular point A. If perpendicular line means you need to have n number of lines you need to draw, but that perpendicular line has to pass through A, means it has to only be one line. So perpendicular to this and pass through this is only this line. So here we having two different triangles are formed, ABC and ACD, or maybe ADC. So in these two, first you can see here, I need to find the T1 value. So T1 value, if you want to find, this is a right angle triangle, right? And here this is a hypotenuse, and this is an angle theta. So theta angle, if you want to find the T value in terms of H, in terms of your shear value, how we can get it? So T1, if you want to take the sine relation between this angle, so sine theta is nothing but opposite side by hypotenuse, right? T1 by H. So sine theta is nothing but T1 by H. But here, if you want to find the T1, so T1 is nothing but H hypotenuse into sine theta. The same thing is written here. So you see here, T1 is nothing but H into sine theta. H is nothing but your this whatever the shear plane length. So shear plane length into sine theta will give you the T1. Initial chip thickness or nothing but uncut chip thickness. This is T1, right? Similarly, if you take this triangle, we need to find T2 now. So whatever your perpendicular distance you joined, actually this is nothing but your T2. Thickness of chip thickness, this point, this line. So this, if you take this triangle ACD, right? So in this is 90 degrees, already we know. if this is 90 degrees, what is the angle of this one? And what is the angle of this? Anybody can tell me what is the angle of this? This portion, this whatever the angle C. So this portion, what is the angle of this one? So if I want to say this is nothing but alpha, right? So this is the alpha value, and how much this? What is the value of this one? So this value is nothing but, because this is at the right angle, so this total value is 90 degrees from here to here. But here it is a theta. So what is the angle from here to here? It is 90 minus theta, right? This angle is 90 minus theta. But total this angle, if you want to say, this is 90 minus theta plus alpha, right? If you want to say this angle, just I am writing this angle. So this angle is nothing but 90 minus alpha, right? So maybe this I can take it here. So this is 90. This is not 0. This is 90 minus alpha is nothing but this angle plus, no, sorry, 90 minus theta. It's not alpha. So this is not alpha. This is theta, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is 90 minus theta. 90 minus theta is nothing but this angle. So this angle, this angle. ये जो vertical line to this inclination is 90 minus theta. So because this is theta, this is total 90 minus theta. Plus, if you want to see this angle, so angle with the face, so 90 minus theta plus alpha also there here. So I can write it as a plus alpha, right? So 90 minus theta plus alpha. If you want to take 90 as a common, if you want to take this, it is coming as 90 minus, I am closing the bracket, theta, because minus is coming common, so minus into minus plus. So it is alpha, theta minus alpha, right? So this angle, whatever this angle is there at this particular triangle, so this is triangle. We are considering A, C, and D. So triangle is pointed with this particular point. So whatever the angle, this angle, so this angle is nothing but 90 minus theta minus alpha, right? So this angle is 90 degrees. So now I want to remove again this also. Just I am trying to remove all these things, right? So this is the angle. So 90 minus theta minus alpha is nothing but this angle. Now I want to have some angle of this one. So how to find this angle? So this is 90 degrees and this is 90 minus theta minus alpha. So this angle is theta minus alpha, right? So how it is coming? Because total angles in a triangle is 180 degrees. So in 180 degrees, this is 90 degrees, already gone. So angles, two angles, this angle plus this angle is coming as 90. So in that, this angle is 90 minus theta minus alpha. So this angle is obviously whatever the minus alpha value is, that value is coming here. So this value is coming as theta minus alpha, right? So this, if I want to take a sign of this one, if I want to calculate the T2 value of this in terms of H, in terms of whatever the H is there, if I want to find the T2, so T2 is nothing but H, right? The hypotenuse into cos of this value, cos of theta minus alpha. Because if you want to take, this is whatever the theta minus alpha is, this is adjacent side. So cos value give the adjacent side and sin value is give the opposite side. So we are not calculating opposite side, we are calculating adjacent side. If you want to find the adjacent sides of anything, hypotenuse into that value, right? Into that cos of that angle. So hypotenuse is nothing but H and angle is theta minus alpha, cos of this angle. So cos theta minus alpha. So theta 1 is H sin and theta 2 is H into cos theta minus alpha. These two values are come from this triangle, right? So now come back here. Now we need to calculate our cutting ratio or nothing but thickness ratio. So our thickness ratio is nothing but T1 by T2, right? So whatever we already just now we are got from this triangle, that we need to substitute. T1 is nothing but H by sin theta and T2 is nothing but H into cos theta minus alpha, right? We substitute here and H is same only for both, from this triangle as well as this triangle. This is a common side. So H value is same, H dimension is same. So you can cancel this H by H. So then R value, whatever is coming as sin theta by, if you want to expand cos theta minus alpha, it is coming as cos theta cos alpha plus sin theta sin alpha, right? It's a basic trigonometry. If you want to make everything to be one side, so you need to remove all these bi's, then you want to keep it one side. Then what we are doing, we keeping sin theta here itself and taking this, whatever the denominator is there, completely denominator we're taking other side. So if you're taking other side, what happened? So this cos theta cos alpha, R into cos theta cos alpha plus R into sin theta sin alpha, right? So this is equal to sin theta. Now to making further simple, we are taking this sin theta to be taking on the left side itself. So that right side we can keep it 1. So this 1 equal to R cos theta cos alpha divided by sin theta and R sin theta sin alpha by sin theta, right? So because
के साइन चेंज नहीं होते सर,
yes, बोलो.
साइन चेंज नहीं होती.
जब आप when you are divided by doing something, you're not required to change the sign. If you want to taking other, you see here numerator denominator term and taking as the numerator. So डिनोमिनेटर को न्यूमरेटर में इधर ला रहा हूं तो मुझे साइन चेंज करने की जरूरत नहीं है. अलबत्ता मैं इसको प्लस को लेके आ रहा हूं उधर से तो माइनस करना पड़ता, राइट. फॉर एग्जांपल if you see here, maybe I'll write an equation. I think you maybe see in your basic mathematics. अगर मैं you see a plus b, right, equal to 1 कर रहा हूं मैं, right. अब इसको b को इधर ले जाना है तो या a equal to 1 minus b लिखूंगा, right. a equal to 1 minus b, right. ठीक है ना. हेलो.
यस सर.
ऐसा है तो ऐसा ले जा रहा हूं तो मैं मेरे को दूसरे से ले जा रहा हूं तो साइन चेंज करना है मेरे को, प्लस को माइनस, माइनस को प्लस करना है, राइट. तो a equal to 1 minus b, but instead of that what we are doing here, if it is a by b equal to 1 कर रहा हूं मैं, equal to 1, राइट. इसमें यहां पर मेरे को b, यहां का b इधर ले जाना है, राइट. तो मेरे को b को कुछ माइनस करना पड़ता है इसमें. b को मैं इधर से इधर ले जाना है तो मैं क्या करता हूं, मैं a इक्वल टू, यहां पर जो डिनोमिनेटर में b, a बाई b जो था उसको मैं ऊपर ले जाऊंगा, राइट. डिनोमिनेटर व्हाट एवर द डिनोमिनेटर इज देयर, दैट इज कमिंग अंडर न्यूमरेटर, दैट इज इटसेल्फ चेंजिंग द साइन. सो a इक्वल टू b, राइट और नॉट.
यस सर.
So like that, if you say here we're not taking the a plus b. This is in not form of a plus b. It is in the form of a divided by b. So this is by b. So we are taking it into the numerator. Yeah, your denominator, whatever is there, that is when you're taking in the other side, it is to become a numerator, right?
Yes sir.
That's why this value is equal to this value. So both are in numerators now. So that even similarly here, whatever numerator is there, taking here numerator is whatever is there, that's going to be denominator on the other side. So it is coming in denominator in this particular side, sin theta, sin theta. If you want to simplify this, so r value is as it is. So cos theta plus by sin theta, I can write it as a tan, 1 by tan theta. You see sin theta by cos theta. So I am writing it as a tan theta here, right? इसको cos theta को मैं sin theta के नीचे भी ला सकता हूँ ना मैं. So this is writing as cos tan theta, and this cos alpha is remaining as it is. So r cos alpha by sin theta plus, so sin theta यहाँ भी है, sin theta यहाँ भी है. So we are cancelling sin theta by sin theta. Then what is you are getting? R sin alpha, right? So r get common term is there. So I am taking out this common term. No, I am not taking out this common term. Whatever, to making a simplicity, whatever this is there, just I am removing this, right? So making further simplified, what I am doing here, now I am converting into alpha and theta values, right? So now what I am doing it, now you're taking this, whatever the alpha sin, this r into sin alpha is there. Now this is I am bringing into the right side. So now because the plus is there, then it is become a minus. If you take it here, this whatever the things are there, it is coming to be 1 minus r sin alpha, right? So r cos alpha divided by tan theta equal to 1 minus r sin alpha. This will come. Now what I am doing, this whatever the tan theta is there, this tan theta is bringing here, and this whatever the values are here, 1 minus cos alpha, this I am bringing this side. So then I can write it tan theta equal to r cos alpha divided by 1 minus r sin alpha. So like this, these formula has come. So tan theta is nothing but shear angle. Tan into shear angle equal to r. R is nothing but your machining ratio or thickness ratio. Thickness ratio r into cos alpha. Alpha is again rake angle divided by 1 minus r sin alpha. So like this, from this triangle, from this, so this equation has come. So this is one of the important equation for machining. So anywhere when you're calculating forces, when you're calculating velocity, when you're calculating different terms, so this formula will be very much useful. This is nothing but shear formula. So shear plane, this whatever the theta is there, is nothing but shear plane angle. So is it understand how this derivation has come? I'm asking to students.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So maybe I explained to you, maybe you listened it, maybe after that when you're asking for the derivation, it may confuse. So what you will do, so you note down this. So I'm giving you a time of 5 minutes, please note down this formula completely, you can note down. I remove all this. So don't take a screenshot, please note down this one. So coming back. removing all these lines. So all these things I am removing. So please note down this formula. This derivation you can note down. So derivation may come for even this. This is a small derivation, but it may ask for 10 marks also. So very important derivation this is. So I'm cutting all this thing. Please everybody note down this. So everybody note down. Don't take screenshot. Please note down this. T1, T2, R, cos theta, cos alpha. Draw this diagram and then note down. Everybody please